Good afternoon. I take you to 1997. I was working on a translation of a senior monk of Ramakrishna order of a book in English. I was translating that into Tamil. And I came across a citation from a scripture. And I kept on searching that. It was 97. Just reminding you that. So I had to go through Devanagari text, a laborious effort, and I did that for hours and hours, could not find that exact citation. I requested at 12 o'clock, because you know, when you are passionate about things, you also turn crazy. So some craziness I believe I have, and I'm happy to have that. So at 12 o'clock, I call another crazy monk who is much senior to me, and asked him this. He also worked for 2 days and then found out that text, exactly where it is, and I could put a footnote in my translation. Now, cut to 2025, last year. I was working on another project, and I came across the name of a text, again a Samskrita text. But unlike the other text which I was searching in 97, which is there in thousands and thousands of books in many languages, including English, this text has never been published as a book. It is available only as a manuscript, palm leaf manuscript. But you know what? I just searched the text and immediately got the answer that this has been published only as this is available only as a palm leaf manuscript, and it is available in these two libraries. One in Thiruvananthapuram, I stay in Kozhikode, Calicut, Kerala, and the other one in Chennai here. I was given the address, I was given the exact person to contact, the email ID, and then of course ChatGPT or Gemini asked me, do you want me to draft the email you need to send them? So, of course, nothing is Greek anymore. But the bigger question and the more serious question is, for whom or to whom does this apply, that nothing is Latin or Greek anymore? Again, rewind, I take you to Uttarakhand. There is an ashram in a place called Mayavati, no connection with the eponymous politician. This name was there when Swami Vivekananda founded that ashrama. I was having tea, and two monks also were having tea, and they were discussing about the scores of a cricketer, very famous cricketer, and they were having an argument about that. This happened in 2015. And after some time, I couldn't just take it. I said, Maharaj, why don't you just Google it up? Why are you arguing about this, which is readily available? And this is a problem which I face all the time. And people ask for products, for solutions, for information, for texts, which is all available there in the cybersphere, but they just don't think that that is where they have to search for that. And this is something which I have been doing for decades now, teaching people how to use information or how to connect the information which they have with you. Last month, in a conference at the National Institute of Advanced Studies, where I'm a faculty, adjunct faculty, I met with a person who has also devoted decades to teach this, and that is called systems thinking. And I suddenly realized that this thinking was there millennia ago in our country. It was there in villages. And so, I, with the help of that gentleman, prepared a flow chart in a A4 page, a simple flow chart which will ask you to ask the right questions. Whatever problem you have, the problem could be that you're hungry, you want to order something tasty. The problem could be that you're bored and you want to watch the latest horror movie. It could be anything. Ask the right question. And that is where the problem is, that nothing is Greek anymore to those people who can properly formulate the problem. And while I tried to teach this to various employees, I asked a question. Suppose you are thirsty, what would you do to remove the thirst? And without exception, everyone said that they would drink water, which is obviously the wrong answer. You would do anything to quench the thirst, and that can be done by many other things than water. So how do you formulate a problem? How do you see a problem? And if you have properly understood the problem, your solution is over. And more often than not, it's just a mental block. It's just ego which is coming into play. And there are thousands of examples which I have come across. I will just share a few here. It was the year 1999. I was a novitiate or a brahmachari of Ramakrishna Math, Chennai, Mylapore. And we have a polyclinic there, dispensary there. The Swami who was in charge of the dispensary was also in charge of looking after a monk who had come from our headquarters in Belur Math near Kolkata. He was diagnosed with cancer and he was admitted in Apollo Hospital, specialty hospital for cardiological problems and cancer in Mount Road. Not the Grimm's Road one, the other one. So, the Swamiji had requested the doctors to look into a kind of treatment which they were not looking into. But the Swamiji knew about the treatment, though it was 98, the information on the cybersphere was not much, but still he had figured out that there is some other kind of treatment. And then he approached me for help. I spent about 5 hours on the internet and gave him a complete documentation on that treatment, all papers from very highly rated journals, medical journals, how the treatment can be done, and aligning it to the condition of that patient, that monk. The next day, he took this file, he just took that file to the medical board. They discussed that and changed the course of treatment. So that is what information out there can do. It could do that in 98. It can do it much better today. Our problem is we are not properly formulating our questions. And what else can it do? Something which we are not thinking about, we have not yet realized, is the amount of varied opinions, varied ideas, diversity that internet can bring to us. You may have a less spoken idea, your voice may be a less heard voice, but if you just have a blog and you know how to properly put things there in a properly worded language, then your voice, no matter how marginalized it is, will be heard by people who search for that. So there are philosophers who were heard of very less, who did not matter to the academia, where of course politics is involved everywhere. But now those philosophers do their philosophy and express their views on the internet without any censor. There is a lot of creative work going on the internet where you don't need the sponsorship of a producer, don't need the patronage of anyone, and you can put your ideas there. And so what it has done is, it has kind of, I think, being a monk of the Indian tradition, I think it has brought to us at our face the millennia-old Indian tradition where all opinions, all ideas were welcomed and accepted. And that is what we need to understand in this information superhighway, that though there is a lot of misinformation, there is also much information which you can put to use. And again, it all boils down to critical thinking and formulating your problems properly. What is your question? In National Institute of Advanced Studies, a bunch of conventional scientists, that means core scientists, people who were chairpersons of ISRO, who were directors of IITs, Indian Institute of Science, people of that caliber, and persons who are core philosophers, some of whom wouldn't even speak languages other than those languages like Kannada, Samskrita, Tamil, etc. They won't speak in English. I don't really support that stance. But then such people who have been doing philosophy in a very, very traditional way, they come together to find out the common space, which we call the Venn space, where science and philosophy coalesce, where they come together. And they want to find out solutions to problems which both scientists and philosophers have been thinking, have been raking their brains about for centuries, for millennia. And this is possible only because of the internet. Because when a person who is a core scientist talks about a problem, just by using my thumb, in a few seconds I know exactly where to go to understand that problem. So, earlier we used to study C++. I started my coding journey studying GWA Basic. But today, I'm happy to say that I took a course on prompt engineering, and I'm not sorry for that. So we have this tool, we have this platform, but we need now to ask the proper questions. People, as most ordinary people do, scrolling over reels, etc., you are interspersed with those ads where they say that, there are two kinds of ads, where they say that if you are over 40, you should know how to use ChatGPT. And the other one says that you shouldn't use ChatGPT like this, you should use it in a more productive way. There is a lot of truth in that. And if somebody is generating an AI image in such a manner that seeing that image you can immediately tell that it is an AI generated image or it's an AI generated video, that means you're doing it all the wrong way. AI is such a framework that you can do it in the proper way. How does it help me? There is a lot of discussion and there will be more and more debates and discussions on what plagiarism is, what real work is, etc. But I am a person, I am 52 now, so I belong to a generation, as I earlier told you, who went into the library and what are books, because sometimes I have to explain what a book is. There's some bunch of papers between two covers, that is book. So yeah, not the e-book, means actual book printed. So when I had to go to libraries and pour through books to find out sources of reference. Even today I do that, but I am immediately directed where I should look for and what I should look for. So this is what we have with us, and this immediately brings many perspectives, many lenses into the fore. We can use all these perspectives, we can hear all these voices. When I am translating, getting a text which is in English, translated into Malayalam, and the translators who know only Malayalam and Arabic, there is a text of Swami Vivekananda which is being translated into Arabic. I know nothing about Arabic. But once the translation is done, I am able to check whether the translation is proper. I just take the text and put it into Google Translate. I can use other tools also, and it tells me what exactly it means. So when I move into some areas, for example in Karnataka, rural Karnataka, where no signage is in English, I just take my mobile phone and just see the signage, and dynamically it converts it into English or any other language I want. All of you know about these things, but are we using them rightly? Are we using them properly? Are we using them in a way that will help our fellow citizens is the question. So much of my day is occupied in helping or in guiding or directing people who have, say, passed only the 10th standard, who have passed only 12th standard, or even people who have done PhD, to use the internet in a very effective manner, in a proper manner. And I'm always encountered with the question, ye internet mein hai kya? Is it available on the internet? Believe me, everything is available on the internet. If it is a rare text which has been out of print and which is not available in any library, you can go to those repositories like archive.org and you will get the text. If it is a very rare research area where it is difficult to access journals because they are behind a paywall, you will get that thing in some other forum posted by the very author who did the research paper. So today things have changed, but then it is applicable only to a person who asks the right questions responsibly. Internet is not a way which will create a shortcut for rigorous work. Unfortunately, when I'm also an advisor to many doctoral students, I find that the bibliography is much less and bibliography is more. People just go to the chat GPT and say, give me a literature survey. And it does. But then LLMs are LLMs and they also lie, just like human beings, because after all, we created them. So we need to be responsible, ethical, ask the right questions, and then and only then nothing will be Greek for us anymore. And only when we want to hear or listen to those marginalized voices which have been neglected throughout millennia, only then nothing will be Greek anymore. Thank you.